We're going to call the meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. Roll call. We have myself, Trang Warline, Andy Glover, Sandy Mitchell, Colleen Mitchell, the lovely John Kerr, and absent, we have Karen Hardesty and Liz Vidal. Do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
Motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
All those in favor? All right. So just to start before Andy gets into, well, let's welcome Andy Glover, our resident code web sort of guy. He's going to be a valuable asset to our committee here for what we're going to be working on, or what we have been working on. So Andy's going to present to us some analytics of how the current website is functioning, how it doesn't function, and some things that we can emphasize and or maybe de-emphasize moving forward. Andy and I had a preliminary discussion on this, and he has some great ideas, and I'm looking forward to working closely with him moving forward. I've been out of town for a while. I'm dealing with some family issues, and so I haven't made too much progress on this site design, but I look forward to working closely with Andy to make sure that we're on the right track there, and then we'll be presenting a prototype to the group, and then that will get all input and all that kind of stuff from you guys. And I'm hoping my goal is to do that by next, in the next couple of weeks. Trying to clean my plate off here so that I can get to this. So not a lot of updates there, but I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Andy, and he can give us a little rundown and give us some little tidbits. And some of this is pretty fascinating. So take it away, Andy.
Thanks for that build up. That's no pressure at all. So first, let me introduce myself. Andy Glover. I work at AMD. We're a processor company. I've worked on our website for over 15 years in different functions: project management, strategy, development. I've worked with 4 different content management systems, 2 different analytics platforms, just like all over the site, right? So it's fun to work on a much smaller site, and to basically kind of see things that maybe people haven't had the chance to look at. So I'm going to share my browser if y'all don't mind, just to show y'all kind of the same thing that I sent out. Actually, we've got some update. Let's see, y'all seeing it? Oh, we are seeing it. Okay. Is this big enough, small enough? Okay. Bigger? Bigger. Okay. Let's zoom in on this one.
Let's go 8K, Andy.
Well, I mean, that would actually make it smaller. So we'll just...
All right, man.
Drag this where I can see it. Now I got to zoom on top of it. Spoiler. Okay, hold on. Let's see. We're good. Okay. So this is some new info. Thanks, John. But this is really interesting. I wanted to see the breakdown by device of our users, our visitors. And I think this is really, really interesting because we have a whole lot more desktop users than mobile. And as this shows right here, it's almost a 50-50 split between desktop and mobile. If y'all can't see, let me zoom in. Oh, here we go. So this is, let's see, desktop over here. There we go. You can fit it all on one screen. Desktop, we've got about 49% of our users. Mobile, which is phone sizes, we've got about 47%. And tablet kind of rounds out mobile to an even 51%, right? So we've got about half of our visitors visiting on a big screen and half of them on a small screen. So when we are looking at anything with our site, we do half of our visitor base a disservice if we aren't looking on both devices, right? So we need to design pages, layout pages, think of our site equally for phone people and big desktop people, laptop people. Okay. So that was just something I kind of wanted to see. And I'm surprised at exactly how even it is. This was for the last year. I expect this to remain pretty, pretty stable. This is for, an entire year. That's a lot of data, 55,000 visits. So I think that's a good data point. The other one, and oh, man, this is going to be a little harder to zoom in and kind of talk about, but I wanted to talk about page level analytics. As you may know, every time you visit a site, that site is probably sending information back to one or multiple analytics platforms. How long the user's been on the site, where they came from on the site, maybe if Google brought them there, what they searched for, where they go next. Some sites, our site does, like if you've played videos, how far in the page that you've scrolled. A whole lot of information is gleaned from your visit. Google and other analytics platforms anonymize you so that people can't exactly, you can't exactly tell who this person is visiting your site, who this single person is. It's really supposed to be in aggregate. And the analytics, and just kind of looking over ours, it's interesting. It's kind of normal. The home page, as you can see, only gets about 20% of the page views of the entire site. So a lot of people think that like a website, you focus on the homepage, people come in through the homepage. With our site, at least, suddenvalley.com, that is not the case. Only about 32% of visits enter through the homepage. So the rest of those visits, as you can see, are coming to all these other pages. And there's a very long tail. There's not like, 30%, then another 10%, then another big chunk. After that 30%, it falls right off a cliff. You've got 2%, maybe 3%, 2%, very low percentages for all these other places. So that indicates to me users are coming in through Google. They're searching something, or they're coming directly from a link that has been posted on social media. And I'll show you some examples of that in a second. So let's talk about what these measurements are, because these are really interesting. Good to know. Okay. Oh, my mouse. Page views.
Hey, Andy,
Obviously, yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
No,
Page
no.
views and unique page views. Unique page views is like that's the first time visiting, right? And overall page views could be multiple times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's unique page views for that session. You didn't go back, you didn't go forward. Okay. So, page views, total views of a page, unique page views, like we talked about, average time on the page, that's from the time they load till till they click to something else. One of the interesting ones here is the contact page, which has a 3-minute average page time. I believe a lot of that is for the form that's on the page, because you spend a little bit of time typing on there, and that increases your average page time, right? Entrances, we talked about, this is where they're hitting us first. Bounce rate. Bounce rate is when the page is your entrance, and the page is also when you go away. So a bounce rate means they only visited that one page and then they left. Exit, that's your last page that you were on our site or in your session. And page value, of course, we're not doing any e-commerce here to measure, so page value is always going to be 0. So let's just kind of scooch on over here and ignore that one. So let's talk about like a page like our homepage. For bounce rate and exits, there's not a lot of data that can be really gleaned from it, right? Like maybe a third of the people come to the homepage, find what they want, find whatever information they were looking for real quick, and they're out, right? Third of people exit on it as well. And I can't imagine the homepage not being the first page you hit, but then exiting on the homepage. But that's what the data says, right? So it's an interesting stat, but okay. I want to show one page that is on the opposite end of that scale. And let me find it here real quick. It was the missing person one. So the gentleman who went missing, this page here, the exit rate on that one, just double checking. Yeah, bounce rate. So the bounce rate on this page was 92%. That means that like a large number of people came to this page from external sources, likely from Facebook, from a message that was posted, right? Came to it, that's what they were looking for, and they left the site. So these kind of numbers can tell you things like, did the person find what they want? In our case, we're just delivering information. So an exit typically means something like either they found the information that they visited our site for, or they just kind of give up. In this case, most people were coming straight here. They were concerned. They wanted to know what was going on. They visited the site. They got the information they needed, and they left. This page, I don't know what it is offhand, but this page, whatever people were here for, they did not find it. There's a low percentage of this being an exit page or a bounce, right? So most people from this page went somewhere else. And this page is this page is the best example of, in my mind, people not finding what they're looking for. The main pool page. Is anybody familiar with this URL? This what content is on this page? No? It's cheating if we talk about it, Josh. But main pool. This is the main pool page. The page is basically an entire page for the image. It has a URL that says main pool, and Google pays attention to what the URL is and basically thinks, okay, his URL says main pool. It's probably about the main pool. It has a heading here that says main pool. And as you can tell, it has a single image taken on a cloudy day of an empty pool. So as we've seen, 87% of people went somewhere else after this page. So this page that has a great search engine optimization friendly URL, a really nice URL, is a not very good picture of a pool, and that's it. So I would guess from this, my instincts tell me people came here from a search, Sutton Valley Pool. This was probably very high on the list of results. And when they came here, they experienced profound disappointment. And then they went somewhere else. Another page that they probably went to would be maybe main pool 2. And that is much better information. At least it's got the schedule of the openings and stuff like that. Let's see if we can find this page on our analytics. Would anybody want to guess if it's a higher up, lower down, what the exit rate is? All right, well, here it is, number 8. And, number 8's pretty good, right? So a lot of people are interested in the pool. And this page has a much higher exit rate and bounce rate. So when people are hitting this page, they're probably getting the information that they want, when the pool's open, the hours, if it's open yet, stuff like that. So to me, this indicates that people are probably looking for information about the pool, and that we could probably do a better job of serving it, and that we need to clean up older pages that just have like pictures or something like that to get people to that one page that has the information that they want, rather than kind of multiple pages being out there and looking pretty enticing to Google and search engines, but not having the right information that users want. So that's kind of how you can use analytics and how you can glean what users are actually looking for just by looking at what users are visiting And then based off of that, if the users are leaving the site with that information, or if they're hunting around for more information. Anybody have any questions or want to talk about something?
Drang.
Hi, Andy.
Hey.
I just wrote it on the chat, but I just want to say it out here. For those members who were not part of the email and you mentioned, you might want to explain to them or tell them what the timeline of this data was collected from so that they understand it's not like month or 2 months or whatever.
Right. This is an entire year of data. Beginning, you see, I believe this was, from 6/29 of 2021 until 6/28 of 2022. It's a pretty large aggregate, and we've got a month worth of data as well that I sent. And I believe what you see here is pretty indicative of how users are using our site, and it's pretty stable. And let me see what else is in the chat.
I'm not in the chat, but I have my hand up.
I'm sorry. Yes, Andy.
Would you say, this to me seems like a very low number. Any of the numbers are really low. Would you say it's an itty bitty site, or people must be frustrated because the numbers aren't larger?
220,000 over a year, believe it or not, is not small. That's a lot of visits. But asking me if that's itty bitty, like, we get a lot of visitors, especially when people were trying to like force our door down to buy stuff from us. We got a ton of visitors. It was monstrous and horrible. This is a really respectable number of visits for the population that we have. I know it's a real site. It's a real site that serves a purpose for the community, for sure.
And with your knowledge of the numbers, would you say that most of the pages people bounce off fast? So most pages aren't useful, and we should go through and understand the ones that aren't useful and see if you can combine like the pool picture with the schedule.
Yeah. So, okay, let's talk about combining. So the amenities.
Hey, Andy, sorry.
Yes.
Will you talk about the positivities of bounce as well?
Okay. So bouncing from a site. When you run a business site where you're selling stuff, bouncing is really sad. It means you failed because they didn't go down a purchase path of consideration, evaluation, learning more and purchasing your product, right? Okay. So you want a funnel, and then your end result is that they buy from you, right? A bounce or an exit for us, since we're delivering information, that means that they've gotten the information and taken the information with them, right? So they've gotten what they want to know, hopefully, or at least they've gotten what we have to give them on that page, that information that we have to impart. So they feel satisfied that this is what is on the page about this topic, right? And I feel like almost macabre, like talking about this as a page, but the gentleman who went missing, we see that they bounced. They left after they came here and read the information that we had. So that indication is they understood this is the information that we had about this issue, about what's going on.
And I'm new to this, but if I take my website habits into account, if I bounce fast, it's like, I didn't find what I needed here, I'm out.
Right. So on this, main, we can look at page time, main pool, they spent 33 seconds looking at that picture of the pool, right? And I honestly went through this myself. That 33 seconds, like a few seconds was just sitting dumbfounded. This is the information they have about the pool.
Right.
The rest of it was like, where else can I find some information about the pool, right? Like, how can I navigate from here to some more information about the pool? The gentleman who went missing, 2 minutes. The information we had wasn't very much. That is long enough to read or peruse the information that was on that page. That is a God, that is a successful visit to a page. That page, they had enough time to read and digest, and they left. It wasn't a disappointed, it wasn't a unsuccessful visit. Can I please find another page? Because I'm talking about this one in this kind of manner. It's like
Valley Fair
in the world. Valley Fair. Thank you. Thanks for saving me here.
That's Trang. Trang gets the credit on that one.
Valley Fair. Okay. So
it's a combination of how long you were there and did you leave from that page?
Yes, that's bound. So yes. And Valley Fair, 80% of people left, just double checking my heading here, bounced from that page. They came there because that page was posted on Facebook, most likely in one or many forums. People visited that page. They spent 3 minutes reading the content on that page and they left. They were out. That's it. They got the information they needed. They didn't need to navigate anywhere else to find anything more. They probably didn't need to sign up or anything. That was an informational page. They didn't feel compelled to search for any other information. They said, thanks. And they were out. That is a bounce, but it is a successful page visit. That is the goal, is people get the information that they need, right? I mean, for my own edification, I want to work on a site that looks good. I want to work on a site that loads quickly so people don't give up on it. You know, you want to be proud of what you're doing. But at the end of the day, if people come to your site, they read it and they leave, that's the information they wanted. That's a success. We've done our job. You know, that website has done its job.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh. Yeah. Trang, did you have enough? Sorry, Sandy, was that it? You good?
Yep. Thanks.
Trang?
Sorry, I was unmuting.
Yeah.
So just to get you fact, there was a sign up on Valley Fair for volunteers. So that might take a part of that 3 minute and 17, just to see if you want to sign up for any of the volunteer positions.
Okay.
There's
So
not a lot of reading in it. We just talked about the vendors and stuff like that, but there was a sign up. So that may explain the length of time that people were up there.
It also likely explains, I know you got a question, but just because we're conversing, it probably explains why the bounce rate is lower. Because if it's just for reading the information, you'd expect a bounce rate, you know, given what we have, you'd expect a pretty high bounce rate. That 20%, that, you know, that difference there is probably people signing up, and when they submit the form, it loads another page. It counts as another page view. Yes. So otherwise, your bounce rate would be much higher, and it would look like a more successful page. You know what I mean? Like a page they just came and left, but that is the indication that people actually performed an action on the page and navigated somewhere else. So sorry, did you have a question?
I do. So I'm still going back. If you can scroll all the way up to the category. And I know you and Josh touched base on it. I just wanted more of a clarification in regards to page view and unique page view. So if I am going on the website and I go and then I exit, that's page view. If I go on the front website announcement and then I go into another link that takes me another one, and then I go back to the main home page, is that the unique page view, or is it recognizes my search and like the next day I go on it becomes a unique page view? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was, I think you said those in reverse. You said if you go like to the home page, another page, and then back, those are 2 page views, 1 unique.
So and what makes it unique then, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out. Is it like another day when I go back onto my search and I look up Sun Valley, or is it still the same day, but I don't know.
It's in a session, what Google calls a session for that. So it's within a session. If you visit that same page twice, it doesn't count as like each one of those is unique. It's one unique one. And
So
then
a
two
session
pages.
is when
Like
I
a
close my
browsing session.
browser. Okay,
It's-
so I close my
yeah.
browser and the same day I open up my browser a few hours later and it's a new session.
It's, I think, as long as the cookie lasts, and I'm not sure what cookie times are now, but it is, all of this is done with a cookie on your browser that Google puts there.
Okay.
So it's as long as that cookie lasts.
Yeah, I don't clean my cache, so to speak, then it becomes
Yeah.
the same session.
Right. And it's honestly, we really don't pay too much attention for that. Like, there's, I don't know. It's one of those like numbers, and it's like, yeah. You know what I mean? It's
There,
not
but not necessarily. We can just look at the page view and just kind of take that as
page
pretty
view is
much
good.
unique
Page
is just
views,
kind of extra.
yeah.
You dive deeper.
Unique is kind of extra. Bounce and exit are like, for us, like, oh, we
Mhm.
really care about that,
Right.
but honestly, for us, entrances is really interesting, bounce rate's interesting, and exits interesting, because a high bounce rate indicates they came here directly, they left immediately after consuming content.
Okay. So my other question is regards to that entrance and the bounce rate. It seems to me, like you mentioned before, there is a big variation difference between going, into the main page and then like all of these other links. And I do believe that a lot of them has to do with what you were saying as far as social media saying for them to go directly to this link, where as far as the meeting is there or some information. But what I found, I thought when I was reading it, is that the amenity page part or the link to the amenities, it seems like they're spending 2.28 minutes there. So does that indicate maybe that it's just too hard for them to locate the information? Shouldn't it be like there and then they bounce? It seems like they're spending a lot of time either searching for what they're needing to find, or is that not what I'm reading that right?
They're spending some time, like it's very hard on that one to say where. I honestly don't like this page. I'm just going to like copy the URL because finding it is like, I'm not a good navigator on our
Yeah,
site.
you passed it, number 7. Yeah.
I think you already have a tab open for it.
Do I? I'm an
Yeah.
idiot.
Yeah, I'm sure
All
you
right.
probably do.
Hey. Yeah. So
Because they're spending a lot of time in there compared to all the other links.
they're spending a while. So
Do we have
based
too
on
much?
personal information. So check this out. Personal information and what the number 8 link is, main pool 2, and that main pool's up there. I believe a lot of people are looking for the pool, right, on the amenities page, but it's not very high. So finding the information it takes a while.
That's
right?
what I'm thinking, is they're looking for that information.
Yeah. So just to get to the information takes a while. And also we've got 404s on here for these images. Like, and you want to see the images. Like when we were new, what does the pool look like? Well, I mean, let's scroll on in and look at this fuzzy image and it looks pretty cool, but
it's also like 5 years old too, by the way.
Yeah, it's not easy to see what's in the pool, right? And this isn't a link, even though it's blue. So you're looking for information about the pool. So if you scroll to this point and you find the information in the pool, you've been on the page for a while already. You've got a contact number. Nobody is going to call someone and ask them about the pool. My gosh. But like it's difficult to find this information. And as we see on the amenities page, number 7, thank y'all. It's got I guess a lot of people find it, but it's kind of middling. You know what I mean? This isn't a high exit page. People are still from this page looking for more, right? Because what the exit rate's 56, right? 56%. So 44% of people or so, 43% of people are still looking for something else after hitting that amenities page. So Do you
Sorry.
combine those? Do you combine those, all the amenities together? That's what we have now, right? Is that the way to go? Or would you want a single landing page for the pool that when you search Sudden Valley Pool, that's the first thing that comes up? It has great pictures that aren't 404s, and has maybe a gallery at the top, right? You can click through and see different, vantage points of the pool and people having fun, and then find out when they're open in a nice big, presentation that's easy to read. Basically everything you want to know about the pool on that one page. That to me is a much more successful visit. You've searched for that, you found the pool, and you're there. You know what I mean? And that's all you need to know. You're done with the site. You can go hit the pool.
So Andy, is that the same with the marina link where it spends 1.54 minutes? I didn't click on the link just to see what it was actually there.
What number is that one?
That was
17.
right after the pool. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a minute 54. So that's almost 2, right? It's almost 2 full minutes on the marina page. Let's see.
It, again, the same thing where they're just not finding the information. It's right there on the bottom.
Oh, yeah. So these pages aren't clickable. Okay.
Oh, I thought they
Or
were.
the images. Nope. No
Oh, yeah.
click. So that's as big as these get. So, I mean, that's probably okay for some people. You've got, this is a full, do you see this? This is an image.
Oh.
So when I try to drag to copy or whatever, this is an image, meaning, let's talk about this. Let's dig into this. Okay. For me, I do ADA compliance on our website. Okay. None of this is readable in this image here by a blind user. Okay. Also, none of this information is readable by any search engines. Google cannot process this information because this is an image. For our mobile users, which as we know is about 50% of our visitors, this image likely doesn't scale well. So this kind of thing, the reason another thing that gets me is I deal with this at my company. I deal with this at my job, that people send text and images and like, throw this up on the website, right? It's one of the most vexing things because there's nothing right about this. There's nothing right about slapping an image on a website. It's like, just put it in HTML, just put it in content on the page because, blind users can see it. Search engines can see it, stuff like that. But a lot of the times it's like, okay, that's what you get. That's the information you get. You put it up on the page. You know what I mean? It's the information that's needed. It looks okay. It's hard to tell immediately, but like from a web guy, it's like, why?
All right, well, don't beat it up too much.
Yeah,
I mean,
if John,
sometimes,
if
sometimes
John had
you
to
have
put this
to
on the page, I apologize. You're not given what you want all the times. My gosh, it's like,
but these
I
are
get
the
this on the
improvements
web.
that we're going to make with styles and
Yeah.
consistency throughout the site.
Text and images is just like Google can't see it, man. It's invisible. And the rest of it, they're maybe they're looking for fees and stuff like that. I can see it taking a while to get down here. Yeah. Also, if anybody listening has ever worked on this website and I'm talking bad about it, I apologize. I talk worse about my own. Okay, I promise you.
I did find some images and image text stuff on AMD, Andy. I'm gonna have to get with you on that, boy.
We'll talk about this offline. Okay. What else? What else do we want to talk about?
I have a few more.
Yeah.
With me. Can we see the fitness center? Because that's almost over 2 minutes too. I believe it's probably right after. Yeah, 19. Yeah. I just want to see what's wrong with it. I probably should have done that before, but I didn't get a chance to research.
I didn't do any of this. I just the data to me is so much more interesting. Oh man. Okay. So if you have all these questions, you had to click through each of these and wait for this little animation and stuff like that. And so this is a kind of thing that it's nice to be able to scan and see. So I guess it's cool, but a lot of people like these kind of interactive elements of the, expand, contract, accordion kind of stuff. I can
So would
see
it be
spending a
better
lot
to
of
do a
time.
search where they can just type in like
No, don't
renter?
ever,
Oh.
please don't make people type, because that is, they won't. And it isn't searchable. Like, at least this is searchable. If, if like you got a Google search or something like that, it can index everything inside here, even though it's hidden.
So could we put that in like with the recreation stuff? Like instead of its own fitness center use form? Because I
well,
don't.
So, okay, so let's talk about that fitness center / fitness center, right? When you see a URL like fitness center, what are your expectations as an end user, as a reader of the site?
I
It's
wanted to
probably all the
see
information
pictures
about
of the facility.
the whole thing, right? You
Yeah.
expect, this is an entire page about the fitness center. It's use information. It's a very specific subset of your fitness center. The rest is on the amenities page. There isn't a link from here to the amenities page. There may be a link from the amenities page, that section, to here, but this is a great URL. It's search engine friendly. It says this is the fitness center. And if you search fitness center, I bet it comes up pretty good, because the words fitness center are also really big in the title. And it also, it's I would expect a page to be all about the fitness center, and then a subset or a different page with a more specific URL said, use information.
John, we'll need to update that too. I'm sure you're thinking about that.
Sorry, John.
I'm actually working on it right now.
Oh, perfect.
John
I
is
have one
awesome.
more, Andy, and then I'll leave it to Sandy.
Yes.
So one more is rentals. I have not seen that link. So what does that look like? Is that for how to rent facility, or?
Honestly, I've been to that page. I bet it is.
Because I don't know why it's like a long time. It seems like,
well, I mean, this isn't super scannable. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Honestly, like, your adult center, this is your adult center, right? A table like this is not the most easy to scan. You would maybe want to break this up in a section as you could, or zebra stripe it or something like that, where it's like, gray, white, just to kind of make it a little more
Yeah.
scannable and readable.
More like the pool schedule, kind of like how they break it out.
From what I remember, the pool schedule is a bit, that's good. It's yeah, this is an image again. So this was probably provided, I bet, an Excel workbook or something like that, but it's definitely not an image, definitely a table. And I can write the HTML for that if needed, or whatever, like provide that. But
Colleen had also put in chat, I'm sorry to overstep, about fitness schedule. I mean, as far as rental schedule. I'm sorry, that was fitness schedule. Oh, sorry, Colleen, I went back.
Facility rental application, flyer, adult center, community center.
So the first thing I see on this, since we're talking about this now, is just we need to have a contact form on these pages where there is something where, you want to initiate renting or getting information.
But there is a contact there, right? And below it, the email.
Yeah, but I mean, an actual form I think would be great, wasn't it? Isn't it just an
email and telephone?
Yeah. So, it'd be great so that we can keep track of these, or staff can keep track of these things and where it's coming from, versus like, hey, call this staff member, and our staff gets inundated with a bunch of requests that are outside of the where they should be at during their day. And then if we can actually have a form for these things, and they're all tagged and organized, and then it can get in a queue, and it'll help with organization.
Dude. So this is a pretty big form. That you definitely have to be able to put a form together with all this in it, right? So you're just checking the boxes on the page and all this stuff, right? Required fields and all that kind of stuff. if we can build forms like that, that's probably better than this. And then another step to email it, especially on phones, right? Because you know, a lot of people are on phones, and then this, I don't see a way like to digitally fill this out, right? So that means basically printing this out, or annotating it or something like that. You know what I mean? Which is not super fun. So yeah, if there's a way to build a form and submit that form to the email, that's fantastic. That's a great user experience compared to working with a PDF.
Sandy?
Oh yeah.
Just a couple of questions. I think when you're talking about the forms, or even if somebody wants to report something, do we have any database that underlies this? So that if you wanted to enter an issue or you wanted to enter a form, that it actually populates another piece of infrastructure instead of just going to somebody's email, that it actually starts a chain
Ticket.
reaction?
No. So
No.
this is an email form kind of thing, if when you submit the contact or something, John? Okay.
That's an email
But
form.
Could we have something that somebody, you type in my issue, you know, somebody is left their car honking for 3 days straight. And then I get a ticket number when I save it, and it goes directly into some database and gets routed to a staff member. Is that possible? Maybe we don't own those pieces, but it seems to me like that should be possible.
Those things are totally possible. It's just that's a piece of infrastructure, and they're not like they're not exactly free. You know what I
Right.
mean? Those kind of ticketing systems are like, you know, for us, there's like Jira, Workfront, and those are kind of high dollar applications, you know, like
So-
Salesforce kind of stuff. They're pretty costly, but they're awesome to use.
But their town square, which I just looked at tiny bit, is supposed to have some of that structure.
I thought it might be cool. Might be
Well,
cool. to
we
look
have,
into.
I don't know enough, John, about it.
For this purpose, so we've looked at it several times, and each time it comes up a little bit short. So I think we're looking at it again to see if we can repurpose it for what we need it to do.
Even just part of its functionality, you know, use just a little piece that works for a particular need.
Yeah, I don't think I could answer that right here.
Okay.
But yeah, that's been
That's
my
enough.
experience with it. We keep looking at it, keeps coming up, and we keep trying to purpose it for some of these things, but we can take another look at it and see if it'll do what we need it to do.
From what I understand, it doesn't do everything, but if we could just find what is useful about it and maximize that, you know, it doesn't link like it's supposed to and integrate, but if even tiny bit of it worked. The other thing would be, as far as style guidelines, Josh, are we gonna have something so the fonts stay the same? I mean, and when I deal with accessibility for the VA, none of these colors, I would fail all over the place on colors.
Yeah, so I started working on a style guide, and then what I'm trying to do is go from, MailChimp is what we use for email. The set of typefaces that are in MailChimp, we try to use standard ones that do not get interrupted by people not having the right typefaces. But for the website, I'm going to try to keep it similar. And, we can use stuff off of Adobe Typekit, Google Fonts, we could, we could do whatever there. And just, I'm a big proponent of consistency throughout design,
Right.
So we'll have a color scheme. We'll have primary, secondary, colors, primary typefaces, headlines, subheads, body copy, all that kind of stuff. Colleen's talking about doing images, and we have an image search out there from the community, but some of the main images, it'd be good to have those have a consistent look and vibrancy and things like that. Like these images of, these are just shots from a phone or whatever, but we can go in there, take out all the tungsten yellow that's on those images and make it look like you're actually in there versus it's taken with a photo or whatever. Or I mean, with a camera or whatever. And yeah, so I'll have button styles,
Good.
things like that. And when I wanted to go back, since we did talk about the analytics, Sandy and I were working on, before I had to leave to go out of town, we were working on a little document where we can share this with the group, but it'll be a place where we can input copy and maybe needs and wants for certain pages. So based on the analytics that we've already seen, Sandy, I would put some of those things first on that document that we have. So what this is going to be, it's just a Google spreadsheet, but what will it do is, any copy that we want on the page, we'll have it inputted into this document so that we're not going back and forth between different pages, figuring out what we want to write, what's going to be put there. For the pages that the developer is going to do, we'll hand them over this document. Here's the copy that goes here. Here's the headline. Here's the subhead. Here's the form. Here's the contents for fees or, rentals and all that kind of stuff. So everything's there and simple. We can also put our notes in there, and, Colleen was mentioning, what was that about a fitness schedule or fitness center and schedule and stuff like that. So what would be great is if you can all do like a deep dive on the current site and look at the analytics. That sounds like I'm wrapping this up. I'm not wrapping this up yet, but look at the analytics that Andy provided, and think about how you would like to see something or what could be easier for someone. Like, to me, I think the amenities page should be a hub page. I think there should be cards on it that, pools, trails, parks. I showed you guys an example of the parks page that I did previously. And each one of those, you can, go to their own separate pages, but at least we'll have a hub that's not a long amenities page. That's probably why amenities is so long, the 2 minutes or whatever that people spend on there, because they're scrolling down and reading everything versus seeing parks and pools next to each other horizontally over a couple rows or whatever. But I mean, that's a design thing that we can talk about. So yeah, I'm totally not sure where I'm going with this. I just said a whole bunch of stuff, but like all of these forms, like, or these data points, we can make that consistent. I do like the alternating lines because that's easy on the eyes. And, the more that we have that as live text, then if these things get updated, then, staff doesn't have to go in and create an image and upload the image. They go in there and they change the property value of, of what, update the price for something. And I mean, that's obviously, in my mind, I want the thing to look really nice, right? That's where I'm coming from. But also the secondary goal for me is to make sure it's easy to use so that we don't have to have, issues with getting something uploaded or someone finding something. So that's where your input is really, really valuable, of like going in and, as I said, doing a deep dive and seeing what you can't find, what you can find, and how we can make that better for people all around.
Yeah. So on our designs, pages like this, or, content like this, just looking at it, and thinking about Sandy, because, Sandy, right, you went and put on your glasses for my presentation, right? You're like, okay, well, you're too small, right? Pages like this are too small for me. You know what I mean? And since it's not content, you can't zoom. There's a full resolution link. But, if we think about, people who need reading glasses, right? It's hard. It's kind of hard to read. It's hard to really scan a page like this. So you're looking for like your full resolution link and like, okay, hallelujah, there we go. But on the other hand, I totally get that it's much better for staff to create this in Excel, which is WYSIWYG. You know, what you see is what you get. You create it in there, it looks good, and you post it on the website. So hopefully we can make it easy to be able to put this kind of content together without knowing HTML or something, because that's a whole different skill set. And then once you go down that road, the next thing you know, in like 10 years, you're a developer and, you know, you're doing developer things and, you know, your whole life has changed. And, you know, maybe some people don't want that, you know, but just put together content like this and publish it. It'd be great if we had a much easier way to do that. Right. And I don't know how it is right now in WordPress, but I'm guessing it's like trying to build out tables and format tables and stuff like that. And it's not always an easy process. So I totally get why, you know, like it's easier to put it together in another system and post it, but we definitely, I prefer to be able to post it on a page, you know, as content if possible. And Trang, you had your hand up.
Okay, so just to go back, Colleen, I mentioned about the fitness schedule, and I replied back about we were working on that. But I was wondering, she had mentioned about making it fillable. Is that just extra cost related to us, John, to make the Adobe forms fillable, where you can fill it in and then have it printed and submit it? Or do they just need to print it? Is that just a cost efficient way of using the Adobe PDF files on those requests and rental? Anyway.
Well, you mean, so like if people didn't want to fill out a form online, they can download that PDF?
No, I mean, there's a lot of PDF files, like even now where it pops up once you download it, but it's fillable. So you type in that information. So you don't have to like write it, because it becomes illegible sometimes when people write information requests. And then it's easier to save it and then email it or upload it or whatever.
So you're saying
Right.
instead of printing out the form and filling it out, if we could fill it out online and submit it.
And
Yeah,
sometimes
so
those
I mean,
can
I
save.
wouldn't even like try to get to that point of having a PDF with forms on it. I mean, I know how to
Okay.
do that, but
I
that's a
thought
lot
we
of
do
work.
have that, don't we, John? I mean, Josh?
Well,
Like
hold
that-
on. So if you're going to the trouble of having a digital form, then we're going to go ahead and have the form online so that people can, you know, select from a drop down what they want for that thing. Now, you know, we can also have, and this is one thing that I've wanted to do for a long time, is get all of our most important and most used documents and standardize those, have the right logo on there, the right type, you know, everything, so it's all consistent. And I know there's a lot of forms out there floating around. So actually, this is, I probably shouldn't even say this, but I was working on some branding for a municipality, and I was looking through their forms to see how they use their forms, like their PDF forms. And some of their old forms had this old web address that was a city's address. I went to it and it was a pornography site. So we had to go back to the city as, you know, as the designers and be like, hey, did you know that this form that's living right now on your website, a PDF that's in your documents, has, you know, a site that's probably not anyone wants to see when they're, you know, trying to, you know, fill out a permit for something. So, you know, all that stuff. I mean, we're going to find, and this actually, I'm going to segue using that really odd example into the next part. And it's something that Andy and I briefly touched on. And this is for John, is, you know, we're going to be coming up with a lot of new content. We're changing a lot of this. So one thing that we need to think of is how we archive this current site, what needs to stay, how many news articles, like where should we go with some of those? Because I don't think we need to bring every single thing over, but we do need to have an archive somewhere for older items. I'm not sure if, you know, I mean, Andy, you might be able to answer some of this too, is Yeah, I mean, some of that stuff can get converted, I think, over into the new site. But that's one thing that we're going to have to discuss. There's lots of, the more you dig into this, there's more bits and pieces. Sorry. My family just got home, so Coonhound's going crazy. So that's one thing that we're going to have to talk about prior to going to development. And for the going back to the ticket thing, Sandy, that's another thing that we can bring up to, whoever we decide to have this, developed, and see if they have any ways of handling that, as well as, if there's a content management system that works, I mean, I know WordPress kind of is, but if there is something that can capture some of those things too, that we can use, that they know, that they're familiar with, that, we can implement. There's that as well. So yeah, there's lots of things to think about here. Colleen?
So along those lines, just that pathway of communicating. So if the new web developer, let's say we have these forms, we can fill them out online. It's almost 2023. Like, we should be able to fill out most things, and particularly for our elderly residents, not have to print something out, bring it to the office, et cetera. But the pathway for those forms, so if they're getting sent to someone's email and staff, the accountability then from staff, like that whole pathway. So it gets to staff needs to have some kind of recording method, even if it's some kind of paper, carbon copy, I don't care, but some way that residents know that they have been, things have been received, because that is a huge complaint currently with the few things that we can put online. Like, I just went on and just the contact us, right? I don't get anything in return, like a bounce, like we've got this, we'll respond to you or whatever. And so people are like, well, it just goes off into cyberspace, right? And I try to communicate, it goes, it's like a one-way thing and it disappears, and that's super frustrating. So as we create this new ability to fill out things online, like my mom was saying, like, getting a ticket, getting a receipt, and then we need to ensure, and I don't know who does that, but like GM or whatever operations, I don't know, but like ensure that staff has a methodology, like some kind of very concrete way that they are recording these things, so that if somebody comes to inquire, hey, did you get this? I filled it out on this date. They have that record, not just their email, but like there's something that's organized.
Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be, partially mostly that's going to be operations, and, our management's going to have to provide their recommendations for that. But we can, again, talk to the development, whoever we use, and see if they can recommend some way of ticketing these requests that come through on the site, so that they're filtered. And, obviously, if you fill out something, you should get a thank you. We've received your information. Maybe it can send an email back to you if you provide your email. And that way we can also capture people's emails for the e-blast and things like that. So there's a lot we can do there. That's probably really complicated for our role right now, but we do need to obviously think about that and put that on our needs and wants list, which is something that we're also going to have to do.
Well, and I guess I'm just saying that, like, because I think the capacity of the communications committee is not like an authority or a mandate, but like we can form, once the website is created, like, here's a set of suggestions, staff, GM, operations, on how to best use this website. And we've created this thing, this is how this form should be used. And here is how we suggest that staff then take that information and record it. So I guess I'm just saying that once this is all said and done, I think a collective suggestion from the committee and best practices and how to use the website so that it's working with, so just best practice.
Yeah, that sounds great. Trey?
So this kind of ties with Colleen's suggestion. You know how, like, if you're trying to track a UPS delivery, you punch in a number or code, and let's say, and it shows you in transit, pick up in Seattle, in process, deliver. Is there something when we can talk to the programmer that we can do that? Let's say the staff sends us a confirmation email code or whatever, and say, to track your process, use this code. And then they can go somewhere on the website, processing or tracking your, what's the word I'm looking for, application.
Or like awaiting response.
Yeah, you can
Right.
say application accepted, and there'll be a line that shows ching, 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 working in process, ching, 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 things like that. And then it's like email sent or letter sent for approval or not approval or whatever, or process or waiting for ACC approval. I'm just thinking, I know there's other facilities that can do that where they track, but I don't want to think of it as the UPS delivery people, because that's how people look to see where they're.
Well, John just put in chat that that's a ticketing system. So that's what that's what Sandy had said. So yeah.
So definitely, that's what I was thinking too. Like that would be good somewhere on the site, somewhere either in the admin or the office part where there's a box to say track your approval or track your requests, putting that code number that is assigned by an admin staff, and then that's it.
Yeah, that is literally, as a resident, one of the most frustrating places in purgatory to be just kind of like floating, like, where's my application? I don't know. Is it in process? Right. And am I waiting for minutes to see? So yes, I think as just as a resident user, that is so like above and beyond important.
And I think they all understand, and I understand that it takes time. What I don't understand is when I send those in, like, where is it? Did anyone receive it? Did I send it to the wrong place? Just that acknowledgement of it, whether it's on the website. I mean, I understand it's going to take time. That's a given. But just the acknowledgement, and I know that my application was received correctly. I think most, if not all members, just wants that. That's basically it. And that should be somewhere on our website for sure. Just as important as maintenance requests or security requests, members requests is what I would call that. It's important.
So
And then-
we'll definitely look into a ticketing system. I mean, I don't think we've got a $200 million budget like UPS, but we can definitely look into some of those
take
things.
The Valley Fair Fund, Josh. Since anyway, sorry. One more in regards to that. This is probably a programming question, or I don't know if Andy may have some insight. You know how in calendar you can import or export certain calendars into your personal calendars. Like my school, I have the school calendar of all the kids' activities and all that stuff. I can import it into my Google Calendar. Is there a way that we can do that when we put out our new calendar for Sun Valley, so people can just import that information? Because if it changes, it automatically changes in my Google.
Yeah, that should be pretty simple, I think.
I know some places where you can export it, import it. I'm not sure. I'm not a programmer as far as how that works, but I found that quite helpful. Then I don't have to constantly go to the website calendar. It will automatically update on my own personal calendar.
So you guys have had some really good thoughts here. Please write them down and send them to the committee so that we can put a list together on some of these and see what is feasible. And then, because I just want to say that so no one, I mean, obviously we can go back to this video, but who's going to go back and watch this video again? I mean, I might. Andy's presentation was amazing. So
yes,
first time he's got to be like, hey, I'm Andy. Here's some analytics. Sandy?
Just because we're working on the budget in BOD, number one, do we have to spend the allotted money that you've referenced before a certain date? And number two, should we look into pricing out what a ticketing system might cost and at least included in the budget discussions?
Yeah, I can bring that up because that might be, I don't know how those funds would work with, our committee, and because that seems like obviously it would be
Ops.
association wide, right? It's going to go across different departments. I mean, that would be awesome so that maintenance can have their thing, recreation could have that thing, and then it can all tie in with one. I'm not sure. I know, as John mentioned, that stuff's been looked at before. And like maintenance used to have their own ticketing system. And, I'm not sure if there's something that works for everything.
But
all
I'm
at
saying
once.
just if we could put a chunk of money in there for
Yes.
2023. That's all I'm asking.
I'll bring that up, and I think that's a great idea.
Yes, prioritizing that for the budget. Absolutely.
So we're past our time here, and I do have to get going. And I know we had the Trang and Colleen, you guys want to follow up on stuff. I'm going to touch on this real quick. Instagram, I don't have anything for you on that, but I know you guys were going to come up with some standards for that. So if you do have time, it'd be great to get those around so that we can figure out, because I need to get with John and figure out how we can get, user access that we can have where, regular members of the committees not having like a Sudden Valley email address or anything like that. I know it kind of gets a little weird there. The views, Trang, I'm going to send you an email because I want to figure out the kids' views and the best way to set up the content that you sent for that. And Colleen, the article, I'm going to get that over to Bill. I have not forgot about that. That's on my list. And yeah, there's been a lot. I'm still trying to catch up here. Trang?
Sorry. So in regards to the Instagram policy, I have a one that I was going to use from our PTS, the national PTS ones, which I think would be pretty basic and we can work around it. But what is the Park and Rec's policy then? Why could we not use?
I'm not sure. I mean, I can touch base with Alex and see what they do.
They have one already.
Yeah, I understand that. I'll see what they, I'm not sure if he decides to post whatever he wants or, how that
but
works.
he's staff, right? I mean,
Yeah,
staff versus
so
volunteer.
that's the thing, I mean, unless we create months of content and hand it over for staff to do, or we just have to talk about that a little more in depth, and I'm going to do that with John. I think it would be more beneficial for me to actually talk to a staff member about that and then relay it back to you guys.
No, I was just thinking more like, what is their policy that we could kind of use as our base?
Well, here's the thing. I want you guys to kind of create a standard. So like, what are the images that you're going to post? I mean, maybe that's what they have. Maybe that's what you're asking, but it's more not really the process, but like the standard, just like how we're going to have web standards, like, when do you post something, or how often do we post? What kind of content do we want to show? How do we have, a nice variety of stuff, and it's not, it's always fresh and worthwhile to people? What do we say on those images? What kind of hashtag should we use? So on and so forth. So if you can give that some thought, I think that would be great. And I know we're hitting towards the end of the year here, but the more that we can get prepared for the future members of this committee, I think that's going to be awesome. And as Sandy brought up, the budget, we already have a budget for the site. And as I said, I'm hoping the next couple of weeks I'll be able to show you guys some stuff, and then we can get rolling. And we'll work closely with John as far as getting estimates and finding a good developer to use. And having Andy's knowledge there is going to help us to make sure that we're not going to get fleeced with anything, and he can also help guide us through the process. So put your list together of things that you want to see, do a deep dive on the current site. Sandy, I'm going to get with you on that document so we can start getting that filled out based on what we've learned today. And from there, I think we should go over to property owner comments if we have any. Oh, go ahead, Tring.
So just one last thing. I sent this out, I believe, hoping that we had the last meeting. I think it was October something of 2020. I think October 2020. I wrote it down my previous note. I can't seem to find it now. Where we had the analysis, Josh. It was you, Liz, I believe Anne on the communication. This lady that came in and did the whole marketing Facebook. I would like a copy of that program. I don't know if we own it or not. Just so then I feel like all the stuff that she talked about on that video is what we're dealing with right now. And so I just want that information. We paid for it. So I would like to read over it if possible.
Yeah, I'll send that over to you. I mean, it ended up, I mean, I don't want to say anything bad or anything, but it was more of like a quote and a proposal versus like, here's what you guys need to do as an organization.
No, I understand, but I think she gave a lot of examples and data as far as social media platforms and how we can reach our members.
Yeah,
it was a very long video,
that.
so I would just like in front of me the paper and the data, just pretty much her whole presentation, if it's possible. And I can pick it up at the office. You don't have to email it to me. I don't think I can print it all out, but.
No, you don't want to print. You don't want to waste trees on stuff.
I have HP ink. And then the second part in regards to the social outreach that we're doing for the community, there's two things going on. I'm just going to tell all the lovely 3 members that is watching this and maybe more. We have the SVU articles, which we started, and 2 so far has been published in the View. And we just want the kids, our little ones out there, just to send in articles, short articles about what it is they love about Sun Valley, as well as pictures. If they just wanted to express it in art form, we just want our youngest members to give us a different perspective and view of why we love living here, because sometimes adults get a little caught up in everything out there that the little ones remind us again why it's so beautiful and what it is that's so special about where we live. And any parent can help their little one write the article. We're not expecting them to be authors, age 5, 6, 10, 15. Feel free to proofread it. Feel free to help them out. Feel free to even like dictate the writing, and then we just want to hear their voice. And then in regards to the communication photos, and I so appreciate all the ones that have been sent to us. Just to cut down, we want all aspects of photographers. I know we have amateurs and pro around here, but if we could just limit maybe to your favorite 5 shots for the season, it becomes a little bit overwhelming because we are 5 of us, all volunteers. So you're sending us all those photos, and I'm trying to categorize them and organize them in a way. And it's getting to be a lot personally for me. So I would just like suggest, maybe your best 5 for this season. And then we'll ask for more next season and then the following season, so that we get more of a round and more different perspective from different of our neighbors and friends that live here.
And many of those can be used on Instagram too. So
yeah, that's something but as far as like sending in, daily photos, not really necessarily. It's just,
hey, at least we're getting some
I know, I appreciate
some submissions.
They're beautiful and I love all of them. It just, maybe 5 a month.
Yeah, just you don't need to send a picture of the main pool every day. It's okay.
No, I love sunset pictures. I do have a weakness for that. So I appreciate William King's sunset pictures. But that's my piece as far as what our community outreach is and what we'll do. And you'll probably see a lot of my posting on the social platform asking for that. Right now, we love more kids articles, especially from our teens and our little older kids. We love our toddlers, but we would like some of our older kids, middle school, high school kids, just to write an article about what it is they love about summertime.
John, do you ever bring you have how many kids do you have?
Just the one.
How old is she?
8.
Or he?
Did she ever come out here?
From time to time, yeah.
I think you should submit something.
Yeah.
Have her submit something.
I'll check with her. See what
During
she wants
the
to do.
30 minutes of when John's gonna work on the ticket and then the redoing the webs and all that stuff, he's gonna get his kid to write an article, right, John?
There we
Yeah.
go.
Check your schedule, John.
Check your schedule.
Check
If everybody who has, ask your friends. I've been like messaging people that I know have kids, trying, I know, like everybody. So just maybe personally reaching out. But yeah. And Andy,
kids,
thank you so much. I feel like enlightened. So I appreciate your presentation. And Sandy, Mom, I appreciate she's going to be going back through this meeting and doing the minutes and keeping track of what we talked about so that we don't have to.
Thank you for doing that, Sandy. That's awesome. I still have some minutes that I need to put together, and we'll approve those at the next meeting. So if you could send me these, that would be great. Or I could send you the doc that I have if you want to input them yourself too. So I've got a little header and a logo on there. So
Yeah,
however you want to do
if you have a template, go ahead.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you.
And for kids views, it's on the back of the views every month in full color now. So it's got a reserved spot. And if we have any comments from the community, you're welcome to join us.
Yeah, looks like Rob's got his hand raised. I'll go ahead and bring you on over here, Rob. Hey, Rob.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, I've really enjoyed listening to your discussion. And Andy, I caught about halfway through the presentation. It's really good, cool stuff. I like the web, and I think that our website is going to be really great as we go forward. And Josh, has always loved listening to your coon hound. I've got an affinity for hounds, so that was great. Just two suggestions, and I think you guys touched on these. One, there is a waiting list for dry and wet slips in the marina, and I think it'd be really great if that list was published, so people can kind of track how they're doing. The other thing is, I really appreciate Alex and the team putting together specific slots for when pool rentals could occur. But with this new website, how about if we were, and I realize there might be some last minute things and whatnot, but what if we could publish on the website, hey, the quiet pools is actually scheduled, so that people don't get in their cars and stuff and head down there and get disappointed. So those are my two suggestions, and maybe you guys could consider that. That would be cool.
Okay, that's actually really good, Rob. If you have anything else, just shoot me an email. And yeah, I like that. I think we can figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah, great. Well, thanks, guys, and
Thank you.
appreciate you doing what you're doing on a warm evening. You could easier be in the lake or in a pool or something. But anyway, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob. Have a good night. All right, we got a couple other people. Connie's got her hand raised. All right, Connie, I've brought you over to the meeting.
Hey, thanks. All that stuff you talked about just went right over my head, algorithms, all that. But I so appreciate people who understand that and they're working to make the website better. So thank you guys so much. And I'll second Rob's comment about the hound dog. That's the best part for me. Thank you.
That's awesome. I'm going to have to tell him that everyone loves him, so his ego gets up there.
Give him some extra treats.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Well, on that note, do I have a motion to adjourn? All right, I'll move to adjourn.
I second.
All those in favor?